Shit. There it is.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. I don't know why you laugh every time I do that.
I don't know why.
Every week. I do it every week, and you laugh every
I don't
time.
know. Maybe by episode 10, I'll just be like, anyways. But right now, it's just
Well, we're
still-
halfway to episode 10.
Are we?
This is episode 5.
We are. I'm adamant about starting this episode on a high note because of last week's episode was so sad.
You cried a lot.
Oh my gosh, I cried so much.
That's normal.
Yeah, I am who I am. But yeah, thanks you guys so much for listening or watching. We're so excited about a new fresh episode.
Yes.
And we are very overwhelmed in a good way with the amount of responses that we got about last week. So many people who deal with mental health felt like they had the freedom to get help, to talk about it. I mean, I would sit on the couch with Wes at night and be like, I got another text from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else reached out. I heard from so-and-so. In the last 4 episodes, people listening, the responses have just been crazy. So keep them coming. Keep letting us know that you're listening, because when we started this podcast, and I'm sure I probably said this in episode 1 or maybe episode 2, but Wes and I just wanted to do this for just a few people. Not that I wasn't okay with more people listening, but I just thought a few people would listen. It'd be something fun that we do. Wes and I get to spend an extra hour together, just the two of us, and sit and talk where we're not watching TV or on our phones. And I was really excited about it for that reason. And so I've just been blown away and it's weird to even say this like this, but at the impact that we're really making on people. Like, it honestly, and I know, and me and you've talked about this, and I say this to people all the time, but transparency and vulnerability, I think, is like one of my core values. And so I deeply value being open and honest, being raw, like letting people into like the realness and not putting on like a facade. And like, obviously there are boundaries you set. Like, you know, if Wes and I are having issues, like, we don't just tell anybody and everybody, you know. But I think being real and honest about where you've been is really beautiful. And so the amount of people who have reached out to me and said, thank you for being so raw and vulnerable, I'm just kind of like, wow, like, are we so rare? Like, is it so rare that people are that open and real, that so many people are reaching out? And so I'm okay with being rare and like being just one of the few. And that is something that, I mean, I can't speak for Wes, but I will always promise to keep it 100. Like, I will always be my most authentic. There's nothing that I've done or had going on in my life that I'm hiding.
I will always be myself.
Well, I know, but I didn't want to be like, Wes promises to always keep it 100. Like, I was going to let you speak on that, you know?
I think if there was one of the two that wasn't going to be themselves, it would be you.
Yes, but not because I wouldn't be honest, but because I would be maybe more introverted, or maybe because I was afraid of hurting somebody's feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not because I'm not real or genuine. I will always be honest. I just try not to be like brutal, you know? But anyways, thank you for all of the responses. Keep sending them our way.
Yes.
Wes and I had a certain amount of episodes that we had like written out prior to even recording the first episode. And those are coming to an end soon. And so we're going to be sitting down and coming up with new ideas and new fresh episodes. So we want to hear.
Maybe getting some people on here with us.
Yeah, maybe eventually we'll be doing some
won't
guests.
be able to do them this late at night.
No, we'll definitely be navigating our timing. But
yes.
We were on a friend of ours podcast last week.
Shout out.
And it was like,
boys.
Yeah, we were like recording at like 7 in the evening, but obviously daylight is still going on. And so when they were talking to us, they were like, wow, you guys are on our podcast not at the same time that you guys normally do yours. And I kind of was like, I feel like a vampire. Like I'm not allowed. I shouldn't be doing this in the daytime, you know? Like I should be.
Shout out Joe, Brandon, and Janston.
Yeah, they have What's in the Cup
What's
podcast.
in the Cup?
And it's super awesome, super fun. So if you're looking for another awesome podcast to listen to, their topics are not the same as ours. So, but the thing about them is, so we're going to cry on ours and they're going to laugh the whole time on theirs. So
we laughed the whole time.
So listen to ours, get all your tears out, and then to perk yourself back up, go listen to their
listen
podcast.
to the boys crack jokes the whole time.
Yeah. So anyways, send us things that you want us to talk about.
Yes,
if there are
give us some
topics.
We need to put up like a Q&A on Instagram.
Yeah, like some questions you want us to answer. If there's maybe some topics that we've talked about that you're like, I wish you would have elaborated more on this.
Mm-hmm.
So we do try to pack a bunch of stuff into small episodes. So if there's anything that you wish we would have said more of, literally send me a message.
Send us a message.
Yep.
If you have any topics that you want us to talk about. It doesn't matter what the topic is.
I'll do my best. I mean, if I don't know anything about it, I will either just say, yeah, I don't know anything about this. Or if Wes knows about it, I'll let that be his episode. Or if we know somebody that knows something about it, maybe we could have a guest. You know, we're open-minded.
We know lots of people.
Yeah. So, and we know lots of smart people.
That's true. I'm not the smart person
No.
in the friend group or the marriage. So
yeah, for sure.
Wow. Okay.
I also meant that for me. Like,
shots fired, everybody. No. Shots fired.
I meant that as like, yeah, same, like for real.
Fired.
Like yeah, whatever. Last week, it was a really heavy episode just on mental health and some of the stuff that Wes and I have been through on our journeys of mental health. Mine definitely more mental, Wes's mental, which became physical. And just kind of what we have learned and what we have been able to process through all of that. So we talked a little bit about kind of like what we'd been through in ministry in the beginning, but it was really just like kind of how it led to depression. And I kind of just wanted to, obviously people who are listening to this, like you guys know, like we're in full-time ministry. And a lot of people see where we are in full-time ministry and like, wow, you guys are in like such a beautiful place. And I think a lot of people don't really know like what actually has transpired to get us to this point, because you don't just get like thrown in ministry and it's just like rainbows and butterflies and like,
nope,
there's nothing that, you know, is hard about it. And not to say that we won't hit like a rocky point in the future.
Correct.
Us getting to this point has not always been easy. Yeah. So obviously we've talked about this before. Wes and I graduated in 2016.
Yes.
You were a year behind me. I stayed and worked at the Ramp offices, worked as just one of the I guess I was a worship pastor of the youth group there at the church, which is a pretty big youth group for the town that we were in.
Yes.
To have a town of 3,000 and to have a youth group of like 50, that's huge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the sizes of some churches. So I was basically the worship pastor. So I just kind of stayed for another year while Wes finished school. And then he graduated in May of 2017. We got engaged July of 2017. We got married November of 2017. We were in Knoxville at that point. We moved to Knoxville that fall. We immediately launched a brand new church in a new town with new people. The only people that we knew were our pastors. We knew of other people from the same, some of them were from the place where we all went to ministry school together. But none of us had ever hung out, been friends. We did not have relationships with people.
Correct.
So this was, let's go launch a brand new church in a city where we know no one.
And we weren't the worship pastors yet.
No. I'm glad you said that though, because Wes and I came to help, but that's what we were doing, helping. And we literally packed up our entire lives to come and just help launch a church. And we were put on leadership
Yep.
with no leadership roles.
Correct.
I know that doesn't really make sense, but we were part of the launch team,
Yep.
is what that's called, but we had to be in every leadership meeting. Another girl who actually was brought in as the worship pastor, she had worship pastor experience, like she'd been doing it for a minute. She wanted to move too. She was friends with Pastor Casey. So he was like, you come on, be our worship pastor, and his thing was like, I'll help you find a team to like be under you and whatever. So Wes and he brought us in to kind of help her with the worship department.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, he deeply valued our opinions. I don't know why.
As 22,
Yeah. I was,
23-year-olds?
yeah, 21, 23-year-olds. That's how old we were.
Or
when we
21,
moved.
23, yeah.
And
yeah, I
so,
forget you're 2 years older than me.
yes. So but he would call us weekly. Okay, what are y'all's thoughts on this? What do you think about this? And I would hang up and look at Wes and be like, why does he care what we think? We do not even know what we think. We're just here to make his vision happen. Which was beautiful in a sense because it really made us feel valued and like a part. And like we have so much respect for Pastor Casey. So we were like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, the fact that he would even call us to ask us these questions were just insane. But as time went on, that worship pastor at the time, she got pregnant not long after she moved there. So she was pregnant pretty much the whole time. Then she had her baby. And right after she had her baby, her and her husband really just were starting to feel like a sense of transition, like they needed to go back and be closer to their family. Her coming to Knoxville was very timely because her sense of experience with leading a team, she kind of came to and helped like just establish a team, which had Wes and I been handed that, I would not have known what to do. I would have been lost in the sauce, like so lost in the sauce. And so she came in, she established this beautiful team. We had so many different band members and worship leaders and singers. And then she obviously went on maternity leave. And she hadn't fully decided where she was going to go during her maternity leave. So I kind of was just like filling in for her as like worship pastor. But I was just kind of like, hey, just do what she already said to do. I'm just here to like help.
Yep.
And so obviously she ends up moving and leaving. And it wasn't very long after that Pastor Casey came to me and was like, this is your role. And it was the first time obviously that I'd been like on paid ministry. And so I was like, what? So obviously Wes and I like took it over, and we were basically handed the entire team that was already established. But that came with its own challenges because you used to be just one of the team members.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden you've been elevated to a higher position. So you would get some people who pushed back against that because they were like, they would never say this out loud, but you could sense the tension in meetings of like, so she gets elevated and we don't.
Yep.
What's so special about Emily? And to be quite honest, at 23, 24 years old, I didn't freaking know. I was like, I don't know. I'm not special. I just feel like this is the role Pastor Casey asked me to fill. And I think that he just saw that I was willing to be the one to step up and do it.
Well,
and
I think there was more than that.
Well,
but
I had small experience with, I had built an entire worship team, Wes and I, when we were at the ramp for the youth group. They had no one, with the exception of me and you and one other guitar player that we asked to help us. And I built a youth worship team. So 90% of our band were youth and kids that we raised up as worship leaders. And one of them is now freaking on our worship team here in Knoxville, which is insane and crazy.
Shout out Jake.
Yeah.
Who has a baby now.
Yeah. Who literally was a child playing keys for me and now has a wife and a baby. Yeah. Let's just not remind me how old I am. But all of that to say, I did have some experience.
Yes.
But to me, it didn't feel like it was enough to like lead, number one, to lead the team of Pastor Casey Doss's church.
Yeah.
Like, I know maybe to some of you, you're like, who the heck is that? Why does that matter? But where we came from, the ramp, Pastor Casey was the big wig.
He was
He was the big dog.
He was him.
Yeah.
He was him. He still is him.
I mean, no, he still is him. We freaking love him. He's really like just like the older brother that we adore. So the fact that he was like, I want you to be my worship pastor, I was like, I cannot. I'm sorry. Like, that's what I felt like in my head. And then obviously you have people on your teams and you could feel the tension of some pushback of like, why her? So now we have to all of a sudden treat her as a leader. But last week she was just a girl on the team.
And honestly, it wasn't, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this, but it wasn't just the worship some of the people on the worship team.
Correct.
It was some of the people
on leadership, on the
leadership
launch
with
team.
us, on the launch team that were like, this girl's 24 years old or however old you were at the time. And it's like, what is going on?
And that was another thing. And it was actually, it's like in my notes for this session, but we did get a lot of pushback when all this first started happening of us. We were too young.
Yes.
We didn't deserve to be doing this because we were too young. And in age, 24 is young. 22 at the time is young. Like, we had just left ministry school. We had just got married. We had not had a ton of life experience. We had not had a ton of ministry experience. I mean, we talked about this last week, but we have been in ministry pretty much our entire lives, but
Correct.
not to this degree.
We were seeing things from behind the scenes.
Yeah, but we were never in it for ourselves.
Yep.
So getting the pushback, it did feel very real of like, I mean, dang, I know I'm young, but like, what do you want me to do? I mean, I can't change my age.
Yeah.
And this is the role that I've been given.
Yep.
Something that I feel like, and a lot of this comes from a place of healing, all the journey that I've been on in healing through all of this. But I know now that the reason I kept getting elevated was simply me and you, was simply because of our faithfulness. We didn't push back on our leaders. When Pastor Casey would ask us to do things, we were like, we're here to do what you need us to do. We are loyal to you. We are moldable. We're shapeable. Like, we're learning. We want to learn from you. We packed up our entire lives to move to a city we'd never been in before, to literally sit under your ministry and help you.
Yeah.
What do you need us to do? And I think being a person of faithfulness is what just kept elevating us. And me and you being a couple who were like, yeah, sure. You need us to come at 6 a.m. and shovel snow off the parking lot so we can get our trailers in? Yeah.
Not fun, by the way.
No. You need us to whatever. We were
sit in a room full of people that don't really like us.
Yeah. We'll do it because we're not here for them.
Correct.
And ultimately, we weren't just there for Pastor Casey either.
Correct.
We really felt like the Lord had told us, pack up and move.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, when Pastor Casey was like, hey, this is what I feel called to do, I was like, you got it. We did get so much pushback from people who really did have ulterior motives. And that's okay. Like, a lot of those people were from Knoxville. Mm-hmm. So they didn't uproot to just come and be a part of Pastor Casey's thing. They heard Pastor Casey Doss was coming to Knoxville, and they had ideas of what they wanted for a church. And so they were hoping that that's what that was going to be, which is fine. You have this idea of what you want a church to look like, and you think that that's what Pastor Casey's going to do. So you come here, and then you start seeing like, oh, wait, maybe this isn't what I thought. So we got pushback. There were times where I, too, was like, you know, you can keep asking me while I'm in these meetings. I don't freaking know either, to be quite frank with you. And you can just keep looking at me like that. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't freaking know either. But we weren't trusted in a lot of areas. We were told we were too young to be doing this. We didn't have any wisdom, which I beg to differ.
Very much so.
I consider myself a person of wisdom because I seek wisdom, not because I'm 40. There are people in their 20s, early 20s, who have way more wisdom than someone in their 50s who have way less life experience simply because they seek the Holy Spirit and they've asked for wisdom. And when you live by the Spirit and you seek godly wisdom that falls upon you, you don't need 50 years of life experience to have wisdom.
Correct.
Because there are people in their 50s who are still making the same stupid mistakes and not being wise. I'll get off that soapbox. But anyways, we were new to ministry. We were too young, quote unquote. There was just so much that like went into play with like the way that we had to go about doing ministry differently because we weren't always trusted. It did very slowly but surely start to wear us down. And I'm not going to make this sappy like last week, don't worry. But it just wore us down. It just wore us down because we were like, ministry is freaking hard. Ministry is freaking hard. In July of 2021, Pastor Casey gets a word that they're supposed to move back to Alabama. I grieved that so hard.
Yeah.
That was one of the hardest things that I had been through since the loss of my dad.
Yeah.
And I can remember the day that he told us he was leaving.
I remember.
I can remember coming home because I can remember if Pastor Casey ever listens to these, he's just going to laugh because he told us in a meeting and I stared at the floor and I remember him saying, "Are you going to look at me?" And I was like, "No, probably not."
And I remember I wasn't there for the initial part because I was still at work.
Yeah.
So I get off work and I show up to the church
late after he'd already told us.
After he'd ever told everybody. And it was you, Cole, Jamie, was
Pastor Casey,
and Pastor Casey? Okay. Mm-hmm. Emily, Cole and Pastor Casey are sitting in the rocking chairs from the mother's room out in the lobby. Mm-hmm. And they're just kind of like both awkwardly smiling.
Yep. Which is them. They don't know what to do in awkward situations.
Emily and Jamie are both sobbing. And I walk in the front door and I was like, what is happening? Yeah. And then Emily starts her awkward laugh thing with her tears that are happening. And I was like, I'm confused. And then he told me, obviously, and I was like, what the frick?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. It was a shock. So, and I had a really good relationship with him to where I was like, I don't think I can look at you right now. Like, what do you mean you're moving back to Alabama? And obviously, in hindsight, it was the right move, but it was really hard to take in. I mean, you guys know, like from what I've said, he was there through me taking my first steps in ministry. He was there, me losing my dad. Obviously,
when we got married.
He was there when we got married.
When we had our first kid.
Yes, he was there for our first baby. He was there through all the pain of ministry. And so he was there through pretty much the biggest steps of my life. And then he's like, yeah, I have to go back to Alabama. And I just remember being like, it was another set of grief that I had to deal with because I just was I knew that God was doing it, but I was so mad at God. Like,
yep.
Are you joking? But in losing my dad, the way that I lost my dad, and then to feel like you're losing another male figure that you really, really look up to is just really, really hard to grasp. And so I'm trying to figure out how the freak am I supposed to keep doing ministry without him? He's the only one that's been really holding me together through all of this because I almost gave up my faith completely. And he's been the only one that honestly made theology make any kind of sense to me to where I didn't throw God away.
Correct.
And so it was just really challenging, but our really, really good friend Cole, who at the time was our youth pastor, he became our pastor at the church. He was like he said, we're moving back to Alabama. I think that means Cole would be your pastor. And obviously, Wes and I were like, yes, that makes the most sense. It makes the only sense.
Yeah, who else would?
And
first off, obviously.
Well, you ain't going to give it to me.
Yeah, obviously, we think Cole was the most like equipped and everything like that. But also on top of that, we were like, who else is there to even think about giving it?
Literally, I mean, do not give me that torch. I will blow it out. Like, I am not the head pastor type.
We're not those people.
No. So
I'm definitely not those people. Emily is way more that person than I am.
It was just one of those things where we were like, well, yeah, Cole's the choice, and it's the right choice, and it fits. And we had said things. We had friends that we all talked to, and we had said things, and like the phrase went around, like we'd follow Cole into the dark. Like we love him. He's one of our closest friends. Cole and I have been friends like 10 years. And so, I mean, I knew Cole before I really became super even close friends with Wes. Like Cole and I have been really good friends for a long time. So it made sense. So he takes over the church. We still are Hope Unlimited at that point. So that was the name of the church when we launched in 2018. Cole takes over and we still were Hope Unlimited. I would say it started getting really rough. Well, it got rough when he took over because a lot of people were upset about the transition, which was also really hard on us because there were some rumors being spread about why Pastor Casey was leaving. There were some things being said that had my name being thrown under the bus, questioning our integrity, just all kinds of it was insane. It was insane. All because Pastor Casey felt from the Lord that he was supposed to go back to Alabama. And now all of a sudden, me, you, Cole, we're the bad guys for whatever reason.
Because again, young people being promoted is satanic apparently. That's what people treated it like, was like, oh, there's some more young people being promoted in a church into a big role, and it almost, the pushback was like, this is not God, this is ungodly almost.
So Cole takes over, we just keep going.
Yep. We kept plowing,
all
pushing,
gas, no brakes, and that's what we said. No brakes. But we just kept plowing through, and we were like, all right, we're just gonna pick up what Pastor Casey left us and just keep going. And we did that until it burnt us to a crisp.
Yep.
Because what we slowly learned is that, and when I say Pastor Casey left, I mean his hands fully came off of it and was like, this is no longer my baby. Do whatever the heck you want with it. I feel peace that God is taking us back to Alabama to go in a totally different direction. I am leaving this for you guys. Bye. He's still on our board, actually. So
he's still obviously he's still on our board.
Yeah,
he's still,
him and Cole are
him
very
and Cole
close.
have a great relationship. He is still, him and Cole talk weekly, if not every
daily,
other day.
Sometimes,
like he's still a phone call away if we needed help or insight or wisdom on anything. With all that said, when he wasn't here, he wasn't here.
Yeah,
and it was figure it out.
Yeah. And he did that in the best way of like, I'm not going to be hanging this over your head like, this was my baby, don't mess it up.
Correct.
He fully was like, take it, run with it. This is your thing, do what you want. And so, but that was kind of hard to do for all of us in the beginning because you do kind of feel like you're still cradling somebody else's baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point when I really started to die spiritually and physically. I was dying. Like, I just couldn't do the ministry thing anymore.
And this was like in not the height of your depression and all that, but it was when a lot of that was rearing its head.
Yeah, it started really when like my depression and anxiety was really high. And then even after I came off of it and my anxiety was better as far as like me mentally, ministry then became the bane of my existence.
Yep.
Like I was starting to heal as a person, but ministry just kept me from like really finding peace. And obviously, a lot of my theology changed around God, around church, around ministry. The way that I had seen ministry done in the past, I didn't really want to do that anymore. I didn't really believe that that's what I was called to do anymore. So I was struggling because I was like, so what am I supposed to be doing?
Yep.
Because I don't think it's supposed to look like this, and I don't think it's supposed to look like this. And then obviously Cole and I are very close, and we're obviously both on staff. And so we're talking very closely all the time. And I was very honest with him about where I was at. And I can remember having conversation after conversation. I mean, I felt like I couldn't do anything right. I would do the smallest thing and someone would run to Cole and I don't even know who those people were, but like Cole would say, hey, someone's upset that you said this, or hey, I need you to take this post down. And that's fine. But to me, I was already burnt out. And like in hindsight, like, and I told Cole, I was like, that's fine. If I will take it down, I'm not going to be defensive over like, that's not what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to upset people. That's not my goal. That's not my heart. But I was already so burnt out in ministry.
It was just pushing you closer.
It was pushing me. And I finally told Cole, and I had a long conversation one day, and I said, I feel like I can't breathe. My life is under a microscope. I can't really do or say anything without being watched. And I'm afraid to do or say anything. And obviously,
you didn't leave the house for a while.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't post on social media. I wouldn't leave the house. I was terrified to talk to people because I felt like if I said something that it could get twisted and taken to Cole. Like, I was afraid of everything. And Cole, let me just make sure everyone knows this. Cole was always on my side.
Yes.
Always. He always had my back. But like I said, that amount of pressure to be everything that everyone wanted me to be.
To be picture perfect.
Yeah. People have this idea of what somebody in ministry should be.
Yeah.
And I wasn't living up to those expectations. And it was starting to wear on me.
Yes.
To the point where I hated ministry. Cole knows this, so it's fine. I actively was looking for other jobs because I couldn't quit due to our finances. Mm-hmm. I mean, I make a part of our income. Like, I couldn't just be like, I don't do this anymore.
It was causing fights in our marriage.
Yeah.
And she would just be like, I don't know what to do. This is bothering me. Yeah. I feel like I'm always under a microscope. And I would just look at her and be like, if you don't want to do, if this is not what you want to do and this is how you feel, then stop doing it.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. I don't care. Call Cole and quit right now. Call him and you can start looking for jobs tomorrow. Like, I don't care. Figure it out because this between me and you ain't working like this.
Yeah.
Well, we got to figure something out.
And I think too, the hard thing was that you knew that I was going through it, and you gave me grace because you aren't under the microscope as much as me because of your role is a little bit more behind the scenes. Yeah. But you also had this piece of you that was like, I think you're supposed to be doing this.
Oh yeah, I told you I don't want you to quit.
Yeah, you were like,
I don't think you're supposed to quit.
Yeah.
I don't think that you are supposed to do something else.
Yeah.
I think this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I think it's what you're good at and how you can help people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if this is the way it's going to be and this is the way how you're going to feel all the time, I don't want you to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not good for us.
Yeah. And I mean, Cole said that same thing to me. He was like, if you're telling me like how much you hate it, he was like, as your friend, do what you got to do for your mental health. Like, he even said that to me. He was like, I'm not being your pastor right now or your boss. I'm being your friend. And me and Anna, his wife, we care more about you as a person. So if this affects your mental health, jump on out. Yeah. Like, don't feel like you have to hold on for us. The church will be fine.
Yeah.
But in saying that, he said, but I do think that you're good at this. And I do think you should do this. We need to figure this out for all of us. Because we can't do ministry like this anymore. And he said this from the stage. He had his own struggles within that time period. The same time I was kind of going through it of just, this is getting hard. This is not easy. What are we doing? I mean, I was supposed to get ordained.
Yeah.
And the night before I was supposed to get ordained by him, I called him and was like, I don't do it. No. I'm not at peace. I don't feel right about this. which obviously he was like, okay, no problem. We don't have to do it. Like, don't stress about it. It's not a big deal. But I mean, I just was so uneasy about so many things. Fast forward. So spring of 2023, we sat down and talked about what does this need to look like? Because we are not doing ministry in a healthy way. All of us leadership sat down and talked, and we just laid it all out there. We were all struggling.
Everybody.
All of us
all
were
departments.
Struggling. Yes. Everybody on the leadership team was like, something's not right. We're hitting a brick wall. And we decided to change the name of our church, to change our values,
to change the way the church looked. And we changed everything.
We fully changed it all. We knocked a giant wall down.
Changed the stage, changed the name.
Yep.
Changed our, just the color schemes.
Yep.
I mean, even Cole was like, I want the scent that we use in the lobby to change.
Yep.
Everything changed.
This is going to be a brand new church.
This is a new thing.
And so we did that.
We did it.
We decided
in a week.
In a week.
From Sunday to Sunday.
They fully renovated the sanctuary and the lobby and the bathrooms. Like we did it all. But we decided to start fresh. This is who we are, what we've built, what we feel like we're called to do. We came up with fresh ways of life.
We came up with this dream statement, basically just embody what we wanted to be as a church and what we felt like the direction we were going is.
What we felt like we needed after this season.
And it basically, it's, our dream is that you would rest in God as we practice the ways of Jesus faithfully.
Yeah, that your heart would find rest in God.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we learn to just practice the ways of Jesus.
Yep.
And it was that simple. We want you to find rest in God as we just follow the ways of Jesus.
Yep.
And when we decided we did that, we fully launched Resting Place Church in July. And I can't explain to you the amount of heaviness that left.
Immediately.
It was like instantaneous.
Immediately. There was just baggage that we just kind of pushed off to the side and was like, that's not us anymore.
Yes.
This is not our church.
Yep.
This is a whole new thing. So
Yep.
this baggage that we were all carrying from all the drama that had happened,
The hurt,
a church split basically, or two church splits, whatever. That's not us anymore.
Right.
We don't have to carry that.
Right.
And it was
life-giving.
It was from the first Sunday, it was this is what we should have been doing the whole time.
Yes. Yes. And it has ever since then been the biggest breath of fresh air. And I'll be honest, I went through that season of tiredness, frustration, just all the things I was feeling. And I know that I went through it for a reason, because I needed to really kind of come to the end of myself, to really seek and ask God, like, what am I doing? And something I learned through that is, do I feel called by God to do this?
Yeah.
Yes. But what I also learned through that is that God would not be angry with me if I decided I didn't want to do it anymore.
Correct.
And that was life-giving to me, because all my life you hear these things about obedience to God, and that if you don't do ministry, you're in disobedience. And I just remember,
you're not in God's will.
Yeah,
for your
you're
life.
out of God's will for your life.
God, give me a break.
And I just feel like there is a will of God for your life. And
Correct.
that is that you would be at peace. That is that your soul would be at rest.
You would love people.
That you would love people. That
All
you would be
people.
that you would be whole.
Yes. That is God's will.
That
for
you
your
would
life.
rest in God.
Yes.
His will for you is to walk with him in the garden.
Yes.
As a whole person. And in that season of my life, I was not whole. To be honest, the way that I was doing ministry was making me very unwhole. The way that I was doing ministry was not good for me.
Correct.
It would have been better for me not to be in ministry than for me to keep doing ministry the way that I was doing ministry. And so I saw a new side of God in that he is not an angry God who we're just his little Sims and he's just like making us do all of these things. And if you run off and do the wrong thing, he's going to be angry and he's going to just drag you back over here and sit you back down whether you like it or not.
Yep.
I learned that he's a God that wants to walk with us and that he is going to open doors for you. He is going to breathe on you and show you, hey, this might be the direction you should go. But I do also believe that God is with us in the decisions and choices that we make.
Yes.
And there is I love this song, but there is a song by Amanda Cook. It's called The Voyage. Oh. Yep. And it says, I'll send the rain wherever we end up. And I love that song. I'm not going to cry. It just talks about that God will send the rain wherever you go. And so that through all of that, if I had decided I can't do this anymore.
Correct.
Jesus is still with me and I can still walk with him in the garden.
Correct.
Would I have missed out on this and what I'm walking in now? Yeah. Why are you smiling?
Because I know where we're about to go. It's just.
Would I be walking in this? No. And I would have missed out on something pretty freaking awesome that has helped bring wholeness to me again.
That it's probably going to help bring other people wholeness.
Correct.
And
that has brought other people wholeness in the last year.
But I'm just talking about moving forward.
Yeah. If I had missed out on this, he would have sent the rain to Resting Place Church, regardless if I was there or not.
Correct.
And he would have sent the rain to me.
Correct.
No matter where I ended up. And so that season of my life gave me such a beautiful picture of God and a different vision of who he really is in all of this and in the decision making. Because he's with us in all of that, but he's not a dictator trying to make you get in line and do what you need to do. He's Correct. A loving father who says, I am here with you.
Yep.
And so with that being said, Wes and I actually are no longer the worship pastors at Resting Place Church. I don't know how to explain this, but this has felt in transition for a while, but there was never language to it. Yeah. For me anyways, because I kind of stopped carrying vision for the worship team a long time ago. I just felt at ease knowing that you or Jansen, who is our music director, they were taking care of it, you know? So when y'all would bring me vision, I would just be like, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, do that.
You were checked out as a bad way to say that, but you were already focusing on other aspects at the church.
There were other things that my mind was on.
Jansen and I were the ones doing a lot, talking a lot, figuring out how to do things and all that stuff. So
there was oh my God, probably weekly are there worship conversations that I'm not a part of that I just am like, y'all, I don't even care. That's fine. Whatever.
A 3-hour drive on the way home from Lexington.
That I fell asleep
in the back seat while me and Jansen are. Me and Jess are just talking about worship stuff. How we're gonna go from here. What's next?
And then I just clunk out. Wes and I. Sorry, we left y'all on suspense.
Oh yeah.
We just were like, we're not the worship pastors anymore.
We're not leaving.
I've actually been promoted to the associate pastor of Resting Place Church, which is a very big role that we've never had, but it feels very right. My heart has been longing for me to be able to pastor on a broader scale. And I kind of am already doing that, which is causing, and I don't think it has done it yet, but it could have caused the worship team to be neglected because I was pastoring so many people and wanting to love on so many people and wanting to see vision for so much more.
For other departments.
For other departments in our church and our other leaders. And I did not make this call. Cole made this call. And so I'm stepping into a much larger room where I'm going to get to pastor leaders, group leaders.
Maybe you'll preach more.
I don't know about that.
I hope so.
But I really am going to finally be stepping into being able to love on everyone in a bigger way.
Yep.
Which is right for me. I'm still going to lead worship once or twice a month, which I'm still excited about. I'm not leaving the worship team. I'm just passing the torch to Jansen and his wife, Amelia. Mm-hmm. And we're very excited about it because this is beautiful for them too, as a new married couple. But it's also good for Wes and I. And like I said, we're still going to be a part of the worship team. We're still going to be, we're still going to be there to help and whatever they need and champion them. Wes is still going to play drums and run sound and play bass and like do all the things.
I'm still going to do production stuff.
Yeah. Wes is still going to be very heavily involved in production. But I am finally getting an opportunity to just love people and pastor people well and make sure that our church is healthy. Because here's the thing about it is, would we love for more people to come to our church because we believe we have something valuable to offer? Absolutely.
Yes.
But what Cole and I have talked about over and over and over, and Wes and I have talked about over and over and over, is the health of our people is the most important thing. The wholeness of families, the wholeness of people, the wholeness of children, the wholeness of marriages, that is the most important thing. And so if I can help Cole by us being available to make sure no one gets slipped through the cracks and that everyone gets pastored well, then we are able to make sure that we do that for our people.
Especially, we are growing.
Yeah.
There are new families coming to our church.
Absolutely.
Every week.
Yep.
And as we grow, it is going to be tougher and tougher for Cole to reach out to those people. That is going to be a big part of your job is, helping people get connected and how to filter into the church. And then on top of that, making sure that all of our teams, everybody that's on our team is where they need to be. How healthy are they?
Yes.
Do they need help?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do we go from here? What is the vision for you? Like all of that stuff.
Yes. It is about the health of our church members, but it is also about the health of our leaders.
Correct.
We are wanting to have healthy leaders in our church who lead from a place of health and who lead from a place of wholeness, and who, when they start to feel tired and burnt out, that they have somebody that can come and link arms with them and be like, what can I do to help you? Yep. Being able to be accessible to people like that. It also is keeping us open-minded to the fact that our church could grow in numbers. Because at the end of the day, if we've got a church of 500, Cole's not going to be able to meet with every single person.
Correct.
On his own. No pastor can do that. And take care of their marriage and take care of their kids and have friendships and relationships.
And take care of the leadership team.
Yeah. And take care of themselves. No one can do that.
Yeah.
And so this is a huge thing for us. And I think Wes and I are really excited to step into a place of let's really tap into what kind of leaders we want to be moving forward. What kind of leaders can we be to help people be as healthy as they can be?
Yes.
Because ultimately that's the goal. We're not trying to have a giant mega church. I guess this episode is, number one, to kind of just let you into where are Wes and I at in our life. Where have we been? What kind of journey we've been on? A lot of people know that we're in ministry, but they don't really know what that looks like. Some people are like, well, what do you mean you do ministry? I freaking sit and talk to people. I love on people. I text people during the week. I go get coffee with people. I go get dinner with people. I work out with people. I do my dance fitness classes with people, and then we all go out to eat after. Mm-hmm. I do pray for people at church. I pray for people when I'm not at church. I do lead worship. And then there are little things like I do go to staff meetings once a week. I do make reels on social media. I do edit a lot of videos. I do make graphics. There are small things here and there that I have to do. I do schedule a media team. I have just a heart, and Wes and I have a huge heart to see people be made whole and to see people healthy.
Yes.
And to see families healthy.
Yeah.
I posted this on social media that I've been genuinely just thinking about how doors have been opening for our family. And that I am finally at a place in my life where I am at ease with not living my life with a closed fist. and that I can take a deep breath and let go of things I need to let go of. Because if you had asked me a year ago to step away from the worship team, I would not have been in a place to do that.
Yeah.
I'm finally at a place where I can say, I need to let go of things I need to let go of. I need to be willing to take risks. I need to be willing to step out. I need to be willing to do the hard things. I need to be willing to grab a hold of what I need to grab hold of, to realize, okay, this is the next season of my life. But I also need to be willing to say, this was never mine to begin with.
Yeah.
And so whatever place that you're at in your life, why am I crying? Whatever place that you're at in your life, maybe a new door is opening for you. Maybe a door is closing for you. Maybe you're in a place where you're like, God, where do you want me? I just want to encourage some people to like open up the thing that you're holding on really, 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 really tight to, that maybe God is not asking you to hold on tight to.
Yeah.
Maybe God is asking you to step out and take a risk. Maybe God is asking you to do something new. Maybe God is asking you to take a break.
Yeah.
Because we have people in our church who have been in full-time ministry, been run into the mud, and now God has them in a season of taking a break and breathing. And maybe you will go through these kinds of areas in your life where you need to sit, where you need to wait, where you need to focus on your family, where you need to focus on your marriage. And this doesn't just apply to ministry. This applies to all things.
Yeah.
There are different areas in your life where it's okay to say, like, God, where am I here? And trust that he will send the rain wherever you end up. Just trust that wherever you end up, God is going to send the rain. And I say that because if you are constantly seeking the will of God, then you are in the will of God.
Yep.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't miss it if you're seeking, Lord, help me. His will for you is that you would find rest, that you would be at peace, and that you would love well. Like, that's it, that you would be loved by him.
Yeah.
So if you're seeking the will of God, you can't miss the will of God. So anyways, I just encourage you to really just take that fear and that expectation off of you that that you can mess this up.
Yeah.
Because you can't mess this up. So yeah.
Boom.
That's a little bit of our story in ministry. That's a little bit of like where we are now, kind of what we've been through.
And announcement.
And our big announcement. Which if you're listening to it, you've probably already heard it. But it's just exciting to know that we were faithful when things were hard. But I don't wear that as a badge of like, haha, I went through the really horrible things and now look at me. I say that, man, we did go through some hard stuff.
Yeah. And
we decided to stick it out and to do it anyways. But I would not, if I were you, I would not wear that as a badge of like, well, it'll just be perfect one day. It is not perfect, and it is never going to be perfect. We have struggles. Wes and we still struggle. Like, this is something I kind of wanted to touch on. We'll talk about it for just really, really quick. Wes and I have also struggled in ministry with how to do ministry together. It has not been easy.
Yeah.
We have had several conversations and fights and arguments about, well, I will just quit if it will make this easier. I'll quit ministry if it will make these fights stop. I will quit doing this and I will go get a 9-to-5 if it will make our marriage better. And then in hindsight, I didn't mean that because our marriage does come first. It was just a lot of times, though, also heat of the moment. Like, well, I'll just quit. It'll make it better, which you were never going to let that happen anyways.
No.
But ultimately, I am the one on full-time staff. Wes is not. He works a regular job, which is hard on us in general because it is also Wes's desire to be in full-time ministry. So I carry guilt where I shouldn't. He never wants me to carry it, but I carry guilt where I shouldn't. And he has struggled in his own way with, what am I supposed to be doing? And so we have had to have hard conversations. I do everything in my power to make sure that we do this as a team.
Yep.
And that you know that your opinion is valid, that your thoughts are valid, that what you feel like we should be doing is heard. But that made things hard in a lot of conversations for us.
Yep.
And so I say all that to say it has not always been easy, and it is not always still easy. Like, nope. Even this new position that I've been given, we had a hard conversation that day because your heart is for worship. And not that mine's not. I love leading worship. But your heart is for worship. And so for me to step away from the worship team, ultimately that looks like you not being titled as the worship pastor anymore because we co-pastor together. And so that was a hard conversation. We kind of have to navigate through those things, and through that hard conversation, trying to chip away at like, okay, what are we really feeling about this? Is this like the right decision? Do we really need to do this? Like, should I not leave because I don't want to take this away from you if this is what you feel like? And ultimately coming to the end of that, Wes was very much like, this is right. You're supposed to do this and we will figure this out. And then ultimately, like, you know, when we have the conversation, Jansen ends up, you know, he's like, I want Wes to still help me, like tell Wes that his voice is still valid and I want him to still be a part. And so it was like all the pieces fell where they needed to. And we're still navigating it. We're still figuring out what it looks like. It is possible to do ministry together, but also feel different directions.
Correct.
There are hard conversations that are involved. There are triggering things that come up because even in me and you both, like that initial false self gets defensive. That false self tries to like rear its head and be like, but this is what God told me to do.
Yeah.
And that's real. Like that's a real thing. But I also believe that like God pieces things together and he helps things fall into place where they need to go. And so this is new for us and we're still going to be navigating through this. And we're probably still going to have way more hard conversations as time goes, but
sure we will.
Yeah. But we both know that like we are good.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to figure out the details.
Yeah.
You know? And so I just kind of wanted to like share that for whatever reason. I felt like that needed to be talked about because I'm sure there are other people and couples in ministry together who are trying to navigate how to do ministry together, you know?
And I'm sure, I mean, we could do a whole episode on that.
And we probably will.
We probably will eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it's a real thing. And I know there are people in our church, like people that we know well, who one of them is heavy, I want to be in ministry. And the other one is like, not same.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I want to show up to church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And, that's it.
I just want to be at church. And that's fine too.
Yep.
And so there are different ways to do ministry.
Yep.
But I say ministry because that's our situation, but in life, like whatever you're doing, I believe that God can give you avenues and ways of doing it together. There are going to be hard conversations. It will not be easy. It will not just be like, oh yeah, perfect. That's great. We'll just do it like this. Like there will be hard times. There will be struggles, but I believe that God can take care of all those things and he helps us navigate through that. So anyways, we just kind of wanted to share a little bit of us and we love you guys.
Ministry.
Yeah. Ministry. Here we are. All right.
Well,
follow,
like, comment, subscribe, leave us a review on Spotify and Apple. It helps us a ton. So please leave a review.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.